In this web-based training, the new series of switching actuators N53X will be introduced. Furthermore, this e-learning presents the technical characteristics of the devices and shows the possible application features for the use in building automation. Target group: electricians, KNX system integrators, electrical planners. Goals of this training: efficient configuration and commissioning, allocation of application fields in KNX systems, improvement of the learning success after participation in a seminar. Requirements: successful participation in a KNX basic course. Profound knowledge of the current ETS 5 version.
Before we start to learn about the new Siemens GAMMA instabus switching actuators in detail, here are the main OCI benefits. OCI stands for the three categories of people involved in the planning, design and operation of a building. O equals owner, operator and investor. C equals consultant. I equals installer and integrator. The advantages for the O group are: efficient planning, installation, commissioning and maintenance reduce building and operation costs. Long-lasting and reliable products. Counting of operating hours and switching cycles with threshold monitoring for efficient maintenance. For consultants, the benefits are: comprehensive control, override and diagnostic functions per channel, which is logic gates, scene control, timer modes, night mode, manual on, permanent off, blocking, input monitoring, counting of switching cycles and operating hours, status annunciations, clear separation of responsibility between electrical installation and commissioning of functions with ETS. The group of installers and integrators finally profit by maintenance-free terminals for time-saving wire installation, simple testing of proper installation with standard tools and operating elements of the device itself, clear separation of responsibility between electrical installation and commissioning of functions with ETS, fast download with ETS 5. Now let's continue to the detailed information.
Overview of the various device types. Matrix-like, there are 3 multiples of a 4 relay block, 4, 8 and 12 channels. Each one is available for 3 different current ratings, 6, 10 and 16 amps. The 16 amp version also operates with a 20 amp miniature circuit breaker, then the max current can be even 20 amps. All actuators are designed for normal mains voltage of 230 volts at 50 to 60 Hz and for capacitive, inductive and resistive loads. Further advantages are: service-free push-in terminals for time-saving wire installation for connection and loop-through wiring of untreated single-core, stranded or multi-core conductors, 0.5 to 2.5 square millimeters of cross-section. Mechanical display of the switching status via slide switches for direct manual operation of the switching output, with only KNX bus-powered electronics. Comprehensive control, override and diagnostic functions per channel. Logic gates, scene control, timer functions, night mode operation. Manual on, permanent off, locking, input monitoring, counting of switching cycles and operation hours, various status feedbacks, not only for the relays. Altogether, a combination of powerful relays with the performance of a micro PLC. Location and function of display and operating elements. interfaces. A1. Service-free terminals for connection of load circuits. No screws which need periodical retightening. A2. Test contacts for voltage probing. A3. Slide switch for display of the switching status and for manual operation. Slide switch up, relay contact opened. Slide switch down, relay contact closed. A4. Learning button for switching between normal operating mode and addressing mode for receiving the individual address. With integrated LED for indicating normal operating mode LED off or addressing mode LED on. Returns to normal operating mode automatically after receiving the individual address. A5. Bus connection block, screwless. Advantages in detail. Service-free terminals for time-saving wire installation. Connection of untreated single-core, stranded or multi-core conductors 0.5 to 2.5 square millimeters. Quick wire installation. Remove insulation from the conductor and push into terminal. Ferrules are not required for stranded or multi-core conductors. About 2 minutes installation time saved per terminal connection point. Per output with a phase terminal with 2 terminal connection points for loop-through wiring of the phase. Additional terminal blocks can be omitted. Advantages in detail. Testing of proper installation with standard tools. Test contacts for probing the voltage. Test of proper mains, power supply per channel. Slide switch for display of the switching status and for manual operation. Slide switch up, relay contact opened. Slide switch down, relay contact closed. Test of proper connection of load circuit. Learning button for switching between normal operating mode and addressing mode with integrated LED for indicating normal operating mode, LED off, or addressing mode, LED on. Bus connection block screwless. Simple and quick test of bus connection and bus power supply. That means clear separation of responsibility between electrical installation and commissioning of the function with ETS. Overview of functions. There are device-wide and as per channel functions. Device-wide. Monitoring of device function. Targeted reading of status values. Billing side function, switching in factory default mode. As per channel, regular control functions, override control functions, and diagnostic functions. Control functions as per channel. As an alternative to the binary input, an analog control value input can be selected for activation, respectively deactivation, of the override control input, for which thresholds can be defined for switching on and off. Alternatively selectable operating modes. Normal operation with variable on and off delay times. Time switch mode. Flashing mode. There are 2 logic gates, AND or XOR, filter and trigger option. Central switching. Integrated 8-bit scene control and linking of each output into up to 8 scenes. Timer for night and day mode operation with variable on period at night and or time switch mode, with optional addition of a night mode object for time limited switching on of the output and hence the illumination at night, with selectable addition of an object to change the on period at night or time switch mode. with selectable on-period extension in time switch mode up to a configurable on-period extension via repeated 2, 3, 4 and 5 times post-triggering. With selectable warning signal prior to imminent switching off by brief off and on switching, and or via an optional warning object. Selectable relay mode, normally closed, normally open contact. Selectable switching state on bus voltage failure. Selectable start value of the switching object on bus voltage recovery. Information and application program on the web. The downloads for the new Siemens GAMMA instabus switching actuators can be found as always under siemens.com/gamma-td. Select 5WG1 in the first menu. Enter just 53 in the second line and hit search. You get a list of 9 entries as expected for each of the 9 different actuators. As usual, you can download all necessary documents from here, including the ETS database entry. Please note that the minimum requirements for the N53X applications are ETS4 and Windows 7.
Let's have some looks into the application program. We start with the already mentioned control functions. The default configuration consists of one trigger object for status values and 2 objects per each channel, switching and status. The parameters look as follows. As top page you see the device settings. They apply to the whole device and deal with the function check, the delays of status feedbacks after bus recovery, and if some of the channels should not be used. To set up the individual channels, you must select them one by one. From top to down, you have the control function settings, the 6 available overrides, and finally the diagnostic function settings. By the way, if more than one channel requires an identical configuration, a parallel setup can be achieved when pre-selecting all identical channel parameters from the tree view, using the control key parallel to the mouse pointer. This is possible only with ETS5. The operation modes can be normal, then additionally on and off delays can be configured, and the night mode. For staircase lighting, the timer mode must be selected, and third, you can have a channel only flashing when it is turned on. Without any further changes, you can already activate the 2 logic operations per channel. There are 5 options for each input. The result of logic operation 1 will be used as input in logic operation 2. The other options for the control functions are control value input. This turns the input object into 8, 16 or 32-bit values and requires threshold settings for on and off. Central switching is a parallel 1-bit object to the regular switching input. This is normally used when value input was chosen instead of a 1-bit input to have the regular 1-bit function back. The central switching object also has its own timer settings if on-off delays should be used. 8-bit scene control. There are 8 possible assignments to scenes. The user has all options how to configure them, with or without presets, changeable by end user or not, reset with default values at every new download or not. The overrides. After the regular functions, 6 overrides plus 1 forced control can be applied. Any override is based on the user-defined override, where all possible settings are visible. Here the system integrator has the highest freedom in the setup. An override function is always activated by a logical 1 input. This can be inverted if required, and also be the result of an analog value comparator. The 4 predefined options are: manual on. When this is triggered, the output of this override will go to 1. Permanent off. Here the output goes to 0 if it is activated with a logical 1. Lock. No more input changes will be forwarded if it is active. And central override. Here the output still can be chosen, and also the option no change is possible. That means actually that it resembles the 3 other preset overrides explained before. All overrides can send a status if active or not. They can be activated with a time limit, and all overrides can also be used in conjunction with a value-triggered input, such as brightness or temperature. Bear in mind that the overrides all have higher priorities than the regular control functions. The overrides' priorities are defined by their ordinal numbers. 1 is lowest, 6 is highest. So make sure to put them in the suitable order if you use more than 1 on a channel. Forced control. Also, the forced control is an override function. Although placed before the directly so-called overrides, it has the second highest priority among them. That means, if active, it ranges between 5 and 6. Another important hint is the behavior if an override is turned off. Basically, there are 2 options: no change or restore previous value. The 4 preset overrides have no change implicitly. Only with the user-defined override, restore previous value is possible. The diagnostic functions. The diagnostic functions refer to status feedbacks and counters. The status objects per channel are available for the relay output itself, the various enabled overrides, and the counters. In all cases, the integrator can choose if the status is only available on request or sending automatically on change. Besides this, cyclical sending can also be enabled. For this, just a period time greater than 0 must be entered. Each channel also has 2 counters, for operation time and for switching cycles. Like already described, the counter values are handled like status objects. The counters can be resetted, and variable thresholds via object can be applied. There is also an alarm object which sends a message when the threshold is exceeded. Make sure when using the operating hours counter to select the proper time resolution. There are hours and seconds. In both cases, the values are 4-byte integer objects. But even the high-resolution seconds choice will run for at least 120 years. So using this counter only requires a format adaptation on a visual display. The general object send status values is a device-wide trigger, which will send all available status values if triggered, no matter how they are individually configured. Thank you very much for watching this e-learning about the new Siemens GAMMA instabus KNX switching actuators. If you are interested in more KNX training, visit our website siemens.com/ctrain-knx.